As distance runners, we readily acknowledge the science of our sport. We follow specified and often rigid training regimes. We pay great detail to the number of miles we run, the length and time of our intervals, and the amount of recovery we take. Distance running, however, is much more than physical exercise. It is equally psychological. And should we desire to race more consistently and effectively, should we desire to maximize both our performance and enjoyment of the sport, we need to then understand the psychological dimension to our sport. We need to train our minds as effectively as our bodies. This video will teach you how.
I've been coaching distance runners and writing about distance running for a long time now. I've got a bachelor's degree in health science, I've got a master's degree in sports psychology, a master's degree in sociology, and a PhD in sociology. I'm currently a sports sociologist. I study issues of sport and society. I'm also a sports psychologist in practice. I help athletes deal with the pressures of competition and deal with the pressures of family so that they can excel. And I coach distance runners from, just the first guy coming out who's never run a mile in his life to, some really seriously hardcore world-class athletes. And so I work with people of all different levels. I do basically all kinds of things. Sports psychology, of course, is an absolutely huge field. I mean, it's years and years and years of research in all types of aspects of sports psychology. But what I want to talk to you about today is practical sports psychology that you can use every day in your training and every day in your racing. And I'm going to give you this is sort of like a sports psychology 101 version for distance runners. So it can help you be a better distance runner by using some basic principles of sports psychology. The first rule to sports psychology, the number one thing to keep in mind, is that your conscious mind can only concentrate on one thing at a time. You probably know what the conscious mind is, but just in case you don't, your mind is basically divided up into a conscious and a subconscious. If you compared it to a computer, it's sort of like their hard disk and your random access memory. Your computer can store lots of knowledge on the hard disk, but it can only work with so much knowledge at one particular time. In your brain, if you were to make it sort of like an iceberg sticking out of the water, right? Conscious mind is a very small percentage of the entire brain capacity. Most of what you do and think and feel and remember is in your subconscious mind. And whether they know it directly or not, most coaches and athletes know this. They know that the way to become a good athlete is to train the subconscious mind so that you do what you need to do to be a good runner without having to think about it. In other words, you train. The reason you train is so that you can go out there and you can excel without being overburdened by having to think about all kinds of things because you've learned them in practice. But it's important to remember that the conscious mind can only focus on one thing at a time, can only concentrate. You can only concentrate on one thing at a time. And I want to give you an example of this. So what I want you to do now is go ahead and everybody turn around. And I want you to put one foot up on the bleacher. Good. Now go ahead and untie one of your shoelace, the shoe that's up on the bleacher, obviously. All right, so y'all got your shoe untied? When I say go, here's what you're going to do. You're going to tie your shoe in a completely new way. A way you've never tied your shoe before. We're going to tie your shoe in a completely new way. Ready? Go. Now, when you normally tie your shoes, you don't have to put this much thought into it, right? You just do it. Right? You can be doing anything, and you just tie your shoes, and you can be carrying on a conversation or doing anything, and you just tie your shoes because you've done it so many times in your life that your brain has learned the pattern. Your motors fire in a certain pattern to tie that shoe, and you don't have to think about it. Well, now we're going to do something different. Go ahead and untie your shoe. What I want you to do now is I want you to tie your shoe. When I say go, I want you to tie your shoe completely different than you normally do, right? In a totally new fashion again. and I'm going to give you a math problem. And I want you to solve the math problem at the same time as you're tying your shoe in a totally new way. All right, ready? 47 minus 25 plus 12. $47 minus 25 plus 12. Don't yell it out when you get it done.
I can't remember that.
12.
29.
Plus 12. Oh,
No,
okay.
what?
That's too much there.
39.
All right, you see the difficulty you had doing that?
No, my shoes have.
Okay, go ahead and sit down. Turn around again.
What was the answer?
I don't know. See, the point is you can only concentrate on one thing at a time. And you were trying to concentrate on tying your shoe in a new and completely new way, right? And then you had to do the math problem at the same time. So what you probably did, in fact, this is what you have to do since you can only concentrate on one thing at a time, is you did your shoe a little bit, and then you stopped, and then you thought about the math problem. You may not have even remembered the math problem because that takes conscious energy. To remember the math problem is using your concentration to begin with. And I know a few of you said, you know, what was the problem again? So you absolutely can't do both of these things at the same time. You can multitask. You can go back and forth, but you can only concentrate on one thing at a time. And this has absolutely profound implications for distance running. But before I tell you what those implications are, let me give you one more example. I need to borrow 3 people. 1, come on in here. We're going to get you a chair if we can. Coach, maybe you can grab them a chair. And I need 2 other people. I'm going to take you outside and give you instructions real quick.
All right.
Each of your teammates is going to say something to you. And they're each going to say it, you know, on either side of you. And they're going to say it at the exact same time. Your job is to be to decipher what they said. All right?
All right.
Not 2. Do you have more than one parent at home?
Yeah.
All right, you probably had both parents talking to you at the same time, right? You probably got some experience of this.
Yeah.
So we'll give it a shot. You guys ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
The brown cat fell out of the green tree.
All right, what did he say?
You said the red dog. Okay. He said red and he said green, but it was the same thing.
Okay, what did you say?
I said the green cat jumped out of the red tree.
And what did you say?
Brown bat flew out of the green cage.
I don't know where you got dog from. Not very easy, is it? All right, give these guys a hand. One more. You know, I'm a distance runner. I'm not really a too buff a guy here, but I need a volunteer that, you know, could beat me in an arm wrestle. So here's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to just lift your hand off that chair.
Okay.
And you're just going to prevent me from doing that, right? I mean, you know, look at those guns. Much stronger than I am, right? There's no way I'm going to be able to do this, right? I mean, keep it down hard. Yeah, there you go. Keep it down hard, right? Hey, Jesse, what's 4 times 12?
I don't know.
Let's try that again.
On a normal basis.
All right, let's try that again, Jesse. You're keeping that arm down. I can't lift it off the ground because you're concentrating on that, right?
Okay.
But what happens if I do something just to break your concentration? You've lost it, haven't you?
Yeah.
All right, you want to try? You know what I'm going to do now, right?
No.
You know I'm going to. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
you know
you
I'm
do
going to
something.
try to. Yeah, I'm going to try to distract you to do this, right? So look at that. He's a pretty strong guy here. You're getting better at it. Give him a hand. Give him a hand. All right. So why do you need to know this stuff? If you can only concentrate on one thing at a time, then the first thing that means is you can only listen to one person at a time. So what was your name?
Jason.
Jason. If Jason's sitting here and he's got a coach and a parent, or a coach and a boyfriend or girlfriend, or 2 coaches, well, he might. Or 2 coaches telling him what to do. You know, one coach is like, you know, don't go out too fast and make sure that you have a lot left at the end. And the other coach is saying, you know, yeah, make sure to go hard up that hill and be sure to, you know, catch him by the 3rd mile. How is he supposed to listen to both of those things? How is he supposed to be able to follow both directions when A, they might be conflicting directions, but B, he can only listen to one thing at a time? Now this tells us something else. Let's pretend you're baseball and you're focusing on the ball to hit the ball. Notice I'm not a baseball player because I don't know how they stand, right? And somebody yells, "Focus on the ball." What's happened? Yeah, you're now thinking about what the coach is saying not focusing on the ball, right? I made the mistake one time. I had this athlete, probably shouldn't have been running the race, and today I wouldn't have had him run the race, but it was a little bit hurt, a little bit of shin splints going on. And I told him, don't worry, race will go off, you won't even feel it. And he comes by me at the 2-mile mark, and I said, so you don't feel it, do you? All I did was bring his attention to it, right? You know, he listened to me and said, oh yeah, I do feel it. You can only concentrate on one thing at a time. Therefore, you can only listen to one person at a time. And if you're supposed to be concentrating on some task, and somebody's yelling at you to concentrate on that task, your focus gets shifted over to that person. And you can't concentrate on exactly what you're doing. And it's not as crucial in cross country, but in the 800 meters, if you're looking for a gap, you're waiting for a break to open up, and you lose concentration, it can be like that, and your gap can close up, and then your race is over. So it can be very crucial. So the first rule to sports psychology is you can only concentrate on one thing at a time. So what you want to do is you want to practice everything so that you don't have to think about it. So that when you hit the hill, you shorten your stride, and then when you come down the hill, you lengthen your stride. You don't have to think about it, you just do it autonomically because you think about it. Or that you roll off of every corner and take a few quick steps automatically. You don't have to think about it because you've practiced it over and over and over again. That you leave your concentration, you leave your ability to think up to variables that you can't control ahead of time, like who's moving where and that sort of thing, and how fast the pace is going, and whether you should consider going faster or slower or whatnot. Right? In other words, when people cheer you on, it's better if they give you some form of cheering that you know is there to support you, something rhythmic, right? You know, they're clapping like, way to go, way to go, way to go, as opposed to giving you specific, exact directions, like, you know, hey, you know, you're really doing a great job today, and I'm really proud of you, and blah, 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 blah. Because now you're thinking about that, and you're not thinking about whatever it was you're supposed to be thinking about. So you can only concentrate on one thing at a time. The second rule of sports psychology is you've got to keep things positive. Now, I'm not talking about, you know, just have a cheery outlook on life. What I'm telling you is that your subconscious mind, it only works in positives. Don't think of a pink elephant. Y'all thought of a pink elephant, didn't you? All right? Don't think of a giraffe eating yellow bananas. You're all thinking, right. Don't think of a dog chasing a cat. You're still doing it. Your subconscious mind only pictures things in a positive. Your conscious mind can deal with a don't. So if I say, you know, don't move, your conscious mind, you can think, okay, don't move, don't move, don't move. But your subconscious mind, it only deals in positives. It doesn't work with a negative. Now, what does this mean? Well, it means a lot of things. Coach comes up to an athlete right beforehand, or you go up to one of your friends, or perhaps a parent comes up to you, or whoever comes up to you and says, all right, don't go out too fast. Make sure you don't get sucked up in the pack. Make sure you don't get stuck on the inside lane. And make sure that you don't give it all up before the end. Something like that. What did that coach tell you to do? You're standing there on the line. Now, what do you do? I mean, you know you're not supposed to go out too fast. You're not supposed to get stuck in the middle of the pack. You're not supposed to get stuck on the inside lane. And you're not supposed to have, you know, spent all your energy before the end of the race. What does that tell you to do? Nothing. In fact, the chances of that athlete now going out too fast, getting stuck in the pack, and getting stuck on the inside lane are greater than before.